Belakangan saya sedang mengisi konten di TikTok. Jadi saya memiliki program bercerita tentang hal-hal gaib yang ada di daerah.
She's the magician who terrified Simon Cowell and racked up hundreds of millions of views online, all without ever saying a word. On stage, she is the sacred Riana, a terrifying mystery who has horrified and captivated the entire world. Her performances are one part magic, one part pure fear, and it's absolutely impossible to look away. But the most terrifying story isn't what happened on stage. It's the story of the woman behind the character and the personal struggles that have been shrouded in secrecy. This is the story of how the character she created, the sacred Riana, nearly consumed the woman who brought her to life, Marie Antoinette Graharani. The world knows her as the sacred Riana, a silent, twitching vessel of supernatural horror. But before the long hair hid her face, she was Marie Antoinette Riana Graharani, born in Jakarta, Indonesia, on July 13, 1992. It's almost a prophetic coincidence that she shares a name with Marie Antoinette, another historical figure whose public image was miles apart from her private reality. From the very beginning, Marie's life was steeped in illusion. Her father was a magician, so magic wasn't just a hobby in their house, it was a language. Instead of dolls and tea parties, her childhood was filled with sleight of hand, misdirection, and the thrill of making the impossible seem real. She grew up idolizing the great David Copperfield, but her own style would soon drift towards something much, much darker. To understand the creature that became the sacred Riana, you have to understand the culture she came from. Indonesia is a land rich with folklore and a deep-seated belief in the spirit world. This was the perfect breeding ground for a young girl fascinated by the macabre. Riana wasn't interested in pulling rabbits out of hats. She was drawn to the chilling atmosphere of a haunting. Her biggest inspiration wasn't a magician at all, but a movie monster, Sadako from the Japanese horror classic, The Ring. The long black hair, the jerky, unnatural movements. This was the visual language of J-horror, which trades jump scares for a slow-burning psychological dread. Marie didn't just watch it as a fan, she studied it. She figured out what made Sadako so terrifying. The mystery of not knowing what was lurking behind that curtain of hair. Marie was already a quiet girl by nature. The character's silence wasn't just an act. It was an extension of her own introverted personality, just amplified through the lens of horror. Her manager, Bo Vernon, has said that Riana has always loved things related to horror and mysticism. The character wasn't pulled from thin air. It was an evolution of her genuine interests. She and her team called her the sacred Riana because they believed that for some, magic is a sacred act, a bridge to another realm. Even the doll she carries, Riani, has its own carefully crafted mythology. The story told is that Marie found the doll in a new house after her family moved, and it became her only friend. This narrative, part of her performance, began to blur the lines. Where did Marie, the girl from Jakarta, end, and Riana, the haunted illusionist, begin? That question would become the central conflict of her life. At this point, though, it was her greatest strength. She wasn't just a magician doing scary tricks. She was the scary trick. Before the sacred Riana went viral, she was testing her act in her home country of Indonesia on a 2013 show called The Next Mentalist. On a stage full of traditional magicians, Riana was a complete anomaly. She ended up as the runner-up, but she was the true breakout star. She didn't need to win. She just needed to be seen. Her unsettling silence and bizarre illusions established an identity that was less about how did she do that, and more about what is happening. That momentum launched her onto a much bigger stage in 2017, Asia's Got Talent. This is where the legend truly exploded. From her very first audition, she was unlike anything the judges, David Foster, Angun, and Jay Park, had ever seen. She didn't walk on stage, she just materialized, clutching her doll. She never spoke to the judges. She simply performed. Her acts grew more elaborate and terrifying each week. She levitated a table, seemingly by channeling a spirit. She made tattoos mysteriously appear on Judge Angun's hand. She even summoned an army of doubles from an empty box. The audience and judges were hooked. David Foster was repeatedly left speechless, and after one performance, Jay Park joked he was glad he wore a diaper. Her clips went viral, and in the end, she was crowned the winner of Asia's Got Talent, beating 8 other acts based on audience votes. When her name was announced, there was no smile, no tears of joy. Just the same eerie silence. In 2018, Rihanna set her sights on the biggest talent stage in the world, America's Got Talent. Would her act, rooted in Asian horror, translate for a Western audience? The answer was a terrifying yes. Her audition became one of the most watched in the show's history. She shambled onto the stage, ignoring host Tyra Banks and baffling the judges. Simon Cowell asked her name. Silence. He welcomed her. Silence. Mel B screamed and ran from the judges' table after a ghostly figure appeared in a Polaroid right behind her. A creeped-out Simon called it one of the most original, creepy, wonderful magic acts I've ever saw. For the judge cuts, she escalated the horror, claiming her imaginary friend wanted to play. The performance ended with an identical Rihanna clone impossibly crawling out of a tiny box. Howie Mandel yelled, "She's amazing! She's perfect!" She easily advanced to the live quarterfinals. This is where her AGT journey took its most infamous turn. For her quarterfinal performance, a swarm of Rihanna lookalikes began to climb onto the stage, surrounding her. As the real Rihanna started scaling a wall at the back of the stage, a scream rang out, and then blackness. The show abruptly cut to a commercial. The audience at home was left completely confused. Was it a mistake? Did something go wrong? Social media exploded. The show offered no explanation, and in that moment of pure chaos, the sacred Rihanna became unforgettable. It's a performance that still sparks debate years later. Do you think the cut to black was a brilliant move or a frustrating mistake? Let us know in the comments. And if you're fascinated by the stories behind the world's most mysterious performers, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because you won't want to miss what we uncover next. On the surface, the sacred Rihanna's journey was a massive success. She'd conquered Asia, terrified America, and become a global horror icon. But behind the scenes, the very thing that made her a star, her unwavering commitment to the character, was reportedly taking a serious toll. The line between Marie and Rihanna wasn't just blurring. For a time, it seemed to be disappearing completely. The pressure of maintaining that persona is hard to imagine. This wasn't a movie role where you can relax when the director yells, "Cut." On a high-stakes reality show, surrounded by cameras 24/7, she had to be Rihanna all the time. On stage, backstage, in rehearsals, the twitching, the silence, the downcast eyes, it never stopped. In interviews, her manager, Bo Vernon, would do all the talking, interpreting her thoughts like a medium. At first, it seemed like a brilliant gimmick, but some crew members found it incredibly difficult to work with her. Rumors even spread among staff on the AGT said about strange accidents and equipment failures that seemed to happen around her. The persona was so powerful, it was creating its own dark mythology in the real world. This constant performance led to profound psychological pressure. Imagine not being able to speak your own thoughts, laugh at a joke, or even make eye contact for months on end. Marie was effectively imprisoning herself. The character designed to be a vessel for fictional spirits was now haunting its own creator. This is the hidden struggle of the sacred Rihanna. The world saw a powerful magician in complete control, but the reality was a young woman who was reportedly losing control of her own identity. The applause was fuel for her persona, but poison for her soul. To explore this conflict, she and her team turned to cinema. The 2019 film The Sacred Riana, Beginning, presented a fictional origin story, but the movie can also be seen as a deeply personal metaphor. It's the story of a young girl who stops communicating with the outside world and is haunted by a demonic entity, a powerful allegory for a performer who adopted a silent persona and became haunted by the very character she created. A sequel, The Sacred Riana 2, Bloody Mary, was released in 2022, further building the lore while reflecting that same internal struggle. In the years after her AGT fame, intense speculation about her well-being began to circulate online. Unconfirmed, rumors suggested she suffered a personal tragedy and breakdown, forcing her to vanish from public life to heal. While these dramatic stories remain unverified, they speak to the immense, visible pressure she was under. The illusion had become incredibly heavy to bear. What is known is that she found a path forward by reconnecting with her own identity. She leaned into her faith and found therapeutic outlets to express the thoughts and emotions that had been suppressed for so long. She had to learn how to protect the character of Riana without letting it destroy Marie. The tragedy of The Sacred Riana isn't a ghost story. It's a profoundly human story about the devastating cost of fame and the terrifying moment when you look in the mirror and no longer recognize the person staring back. After that infamous cut to black on America's Got Talent, fan outrage was immediate. But the truth that eventually came out was even more fascinating. The abrupt ending wasn't a mistake. It was planned. It was a final, wild piece of magic designed to break the fourth wall and make the audience question what was real. It was a stroke of marketing genius that cemented her place in AGT history. Simon Cowell later listed her as one of his most unforgettable acts, saying, "I believe that she had some weird power. It was a little bit like we were cursed." Despite the buzz, Riana was eliminated. This outcome baffled many but might point to a cultural disconnect. Riana's act, rooted in the atmospheric dread of Asian horror, was perhaps too slow and too strange for some American voters used to flashier magicians. Her Got Talent journey didn't end there. She appeared on Britain's Got Talent, The Champions, in 2019, and America's Got Talent All-Stars in 2023, where she was eliminated early in both. It seemed the lightning in a bottle was hard to catch twice. However, she did find success competing on France's Got Talent in 2022, where she reached the semi-finals and also appeared on Italia's Got Talent. Perhaps her smartest move was into cinema. The Sacred Riana, Beginning, 2019, and The Sacred Riana 2, Bloody Mary, 2022, made her the first AGT contestant to have a horror movie franchise based on their character. The films were a commercial success, especially in Southeast Asia, and allowed her to expand the character's story in a way a 90-second stage performance never could. Today, The Sacred Riana's legacy is secure, but complex. She redefined what magic could be on television, proving it didn't have to be charming. It could be genuinely terrifying and narrative-driven. On social media, she has expressed pride in representing Indonesia on the world stage. She continues to sell out live shows across Asia, proving her star power away from the unforgiving format of Western talent shows. The girl who was once nearly consumed by her character has now become its master. The story of The Sacred Riana is a chilling tale told on two different stages. On the public stage, it's about a revolutionary artist who brought a new dimension of fear to magic, building an unforgettable global brand on silence and dread. Her impact on the genre is undeniable, a spectral figure who will haunt the Got Talent pantheon forever. But on the private stage, it's a much darker, more human story. It's the story of Marie Antoinette Graharani, a quiet girl from Jakarta, who created a monster that nearly swallowed her whole. It's a narrative about the immense pressure of fame and the psychological cost of living behind a mask. Her journey is a stark reminder of the hidden struggles that lie behind the curtain and the incredible resilience it takes to step back from the brink and reclaim your own identity. The sacred Riana may be an illusion, but the story of Marie Graharani is a real and at times heartbreaking look at the price an artist pays for their art.